I had a quick question.
Shoot.
Um, I'm just wondering, but as far as like going to sleep late, does that I know affects. Does that affect more of like your non-REM sleep or our REM sleep, or is there studies to conduct any of that?
If you do stay up late, I've seen that you usually don't get into REM sleep. You can stay in a non-REM. There are trackers for this, and it goes with a lot of different inputs to try to calculate if you've been into REM sleep. There is I'm trying to pull it up because I have one on my phone. It brings in information. Let me pull that. Oh my gosh, that was off on my sleep. Okay, let me bring that up. So it looks at heart rate, breathing rate. Those things can be detected with certain fitness trackers. So that's what they use to calculate if you've been into that restorative sleep. There's been some debate as to whether or not that's really truly effective or not. But 9 times out of 10, if you stay up really late, you don't get into that restorative sleep. So you don't get into that REM sleep. How effective is your non-REM sleep at that point? That is up for debate. Because you get into different substages, and certain substages may have a tendency to be more restorative in nature. Some substages don't do a dang thing.
So regardless if I go to bed late and get 8 hours of sleep, it'll still affect it.
Now, if you're going to go to bed at 2 and still get a good 8 hours of sleep, that's perfectly fine. If you're getting to bed at 2 and then getting up at 7:30 for class at 8, that would be the situation where you're probably not getting into REM at all.
Yeah.
And how effective non-REM is up for debate on that part.
Okay. All right. Just wondering. Thank you.
If you're still getting the 8, Eric, you're perfectly fine.
All right. Cool.
Non-declarative memories were what again?
Non-declarative memories, it's skill, habits. It's this skill, habits. Behaviors. Okay. That's usually non-declarative for the most part, is those things. Pop it up on my computer over here. Spatial orientation to interact with the environment. That's what those are. So we have basal nuclei. We'll get through this and we'll take a little break. Basal nuclei, again, these are clumps of gray within the white matter. Remember, the cortex is the gray matter, the inner medulla is the white matter predominantly. But as you can kind of see there from the picture, we have interspurts of gray. And these are nuclei. These are nerve cell bodies. There are, as you can kind of see, there are several of them. The three biggies are the claustrum, the putamen, and the globus pallidus. Those are kind of the three big basal nuclei. Excuse me. There's also the substantia nigra. There is a lot of nuclei within the hypothalamus. There's a red nucleus. There's a whole bunch of clumps of nuclei all over this thing. When we look at the hypothalamus, good God, you'll see all of the nuclei there that are bunched in that tiny little region there. But those are the kind of the big three. It's these three guys that are going to be helping us to really coordinate muscular movement, muscular activity, whether that's on a conscious level or an unconscious level. These are going to be the three nuclei that are involved with that process. We're relaying information between these three nuclei to cerebellum, to the midbrain, to the primary motor cortex there in that frontal lobe. We even may have some connections with the limbic system, and that's your emotions. Okay? If you're walking outside, okay, and you look over and as you're walking and you see things or you smell things in the air, and that may spark a memory. You remember you were walking this last year when you were holding your lover's hand, whatever the case, and now you're not together, so you start to cry, and that gets some more regions in there. Okay, and now you're lifting this arm up. You're not walking anymore with your arm waving by your side. Now you're wiping the tears. Okay? So it's these three nuclei that help to coordinate all this motor activity that we're going to be talking about. To that end, we have a very basic motor unit here. Okay, or motor circuit. Sorry, motor unit is the axon and all the muscle fibers it supplies. Motor circuit. Okay? And here you can see just some of that action that's involved with these various different nuclei and what they do. Some things are stimulatory, some things are inhibitory. Okay. You could see the neurons in that frontal lobe release glutamate, and that's stimulatory. It goes and affects the putamen. That will cause it to release GABA, and it actually inhibits input to the other basal nuclei. Shuts them down a little bit. As we shut them down, globus pallidus is also going to inhibit neurons back in the thalamus. And these are going to be excitatory that ultimately go back up to the motor cortex. Just think of this. I am walking across the room. As soon as I swing this leg, I need to inhibit some muscles. I need to stimulate some muscles. It is the primary motor cortex, the putamen and the globus pallidus that are helping to coordinate this stimulatory for some muscles, inhibitory for others. I'm learning, I'm in space here. So I'm going to actually send some back to the cerebellum as well. I didn't even get into that concept here as I'm maintaining my balance. But as soon as I put that heel strike, mid stance, I start to toe off, I'm in different positions. So it's these three nuclei that are helping us to relay this information from the primary motor cortex to various other nuclei using cerebellum, bringing us information from our joints, bringing us information from my reflex centers in my midbrain, superior colliculus, bringing in information from the vestibular apparatus, all going in to the cerebellum, to the cerebrum, from the putamen, the globus pallidus, to help me do the rest of that motion. How fast does that happen? Good God Almighty, it happens really super fast, right? What do we have? We have a lot of myelinated nerve fibers. What's the white matter? Myelinated nerve fibers. This helps us to stimulate the appropriate movements, okay? To track that hip flexor, to relax my hamstrings. Boom. Now to engage my quads on my other arm, my other leg. Hip flex, relax my hamstrings. All of that happens in milliseconds. And it's these guys here with glutamate and GABA leading the way to stimulate or inhibit all of these skeletal muscles that we are engaging when we move around. Substantia nigra is going to be involved with this. Red nucleus is going to be involved with this. I get it. Okay, I get it. And if I lose that substantia nigra, I get Parkinson's disease. And those fine coordinated muscular movements I can't do anymore because I don't have the nuclei there to release the proper neurotransmitters to stimulate and inhibit muscles. And so all of it turns on. And if you've ever seen somebody with Parkinson's, they're fine, and then they start to, I gotta coordinate that. I can't. They can't inhibit the proper nerves. They can't inhibit the proper muscles because they don't have those nuclei there. So these nuclei are vastly important when it comes to motor and moving around. There are a couple specific regions as well involved with this concept right here, talking. And if I don't have the proper connection between those two, I can't talk and I can't say it out loud. I can't read this. If I don't have the right connection with Wernicke's area from Brokaw's area, then I would go neurons from the magma glomatus of the rowboat. I can't coordinate that because I'm lacking the connections. I'm lacking the nuclei back there on this side in that Wernicke's area. To read that word, say it out loud in a coherent fashion. So it's these nuclei, they're going to be vastly important. And will I ask what is the motor unit circuit? Probably not, as a short answer question. Would I ask what some of these things secrete? Yeah, I could do that. I'd be, this is stimulatory or inhibitory for our goal to help coordinate muscular movement, whether it be sitting here talking right now or moving across the classroom.